I do think that it's important for good people to get involved in hard things, even things that may not be popular or where they will be judged, because it's those good people who are going to positively impact the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivr Show. This is our audio journal about family, life, business, and the search for our best selves.
We hope you enjoy.
Oh, is it time for a Quivr?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Quivr Show. I am your host, Ash Crawford. Today, you will meet Ashley Smith, aka Board Becky. Ashley has a unique blend of expertise in both real estate and Web3 technologies. She currently hosts From the Blockchain podcast, which bridges the gap between these worlds, offering valuable insights into the future of business and real estate in the digital age. I hope you enjoy. All right, let's dive in. So this is season 2 of the Quivr Show, where I'm just going to sort of rapid fire questions, rapid fire answers, whatever comes to your mind. And so we'll just dive in.
Cool.
So how do you like to describe what you do?
Well, that's a good question, Ash, because the answer is I'm still figuring that out. I've shifted gears over the last couple years professionally. And so I really had to take a look at my personal brand. And it was a little confusing, I think, for a while, and still probably is. But what I'm trying to do is not put myself in a box too much. But what do I do? That's probably more the question you're asking me. I'm a real estate professional, at least that's my background. Been a realtor for 16 years, based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And early on in my career, as quite a young person, actually, I got really involved in the leadership and governance side of the profession, and ended up getting involved in board work, which I quickly learned that I love. So I to some people, I will refer to myself as a governance nerd. To other people, they may not know I'm involved in that at all. But over the last several years, I went down the Web3 rabbit hole. In fact, that is how you and I got to meet. And it was really my interest in the real estate sector and the fact that that industry has been running really in a status quo environment for a long time. Surprisingly hasn't been as disrupted as one might expect, especially given the amount of money that people can potentially make in that industry, even from an enterprise perspective. And so I felt that blockchain technology might impact the sector, and I really wanted to keep my finger on the pulse. And then I went down the Web3 rabbit hole, which started out as a way for me to learn about the technology. And then, admittedly, I did become a bit of a degenerate for a couple of years. I'm careful about who I share that with. But I became an NFT collector and in fact, took over the smart contract for an NFT collection, as you know. And that really pushed me into a very new world. And so I took a step back from my business. I continued on with some of my board work. And now I'm really just figuring out what it all means and how to define myself within those two worlds. I'm working on it. I do have a podcast, as you mentioned, called From the Blockchain. We also, at this time of the recording, I'm about to launch season 2 and really looking to explore how smart contract and blockchain technology and emerging technologies, how they might impact business from an innovation perspective and also from a disruption perspective. I know I'm going on and on here, Ash, and this is my problem. I haven't been able to necessarily give an elevator pitch. A 30-second elevator pitch is still difficult, but I'm trying. And so I think the short version is I'm really interested and curious about emerging technology and how it may impact business and how I might be able to insert myself in that conversation and hopefully bring some value to the world through those conversations. I'm also a new mom. So on top of all that, there's that. I'm sure I missed things, but that kind of gives you a bit of context about who I am.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like to ask that question because likewise, I do a lot of different things
Hmm.
and I have a lot of interests and passions and things I'm learning about and also growing into professions or work. So it's
Hmm.
like, what do I do? And it's a different answer for who I'm speaking to a lot of the time, like you alluded to.
Yeah.
Like you wear your governance hat, your real estate hat, and all the others. So
Hmm. I will say, just to add, it's a bit pretentious, but someone used the word multi hyphenate when describing me, and they created a bio for me, and I'm like, I like that word. It definitely sounds like I'm a bit full of myself, but I feel like multi hyphenate captures the complexities of
yeah,
like my life right now. And I do call myself an entrepreneur. I think the challenge for entrepreneurs generally might be that that doesn't always equate to successful business or earning the kind of income you hope to be earning. But I have found the older I've gotten that I tend to follow my passions and I tend to follow my interests and figure out what can I do with it. How might I be able to create something out of this and create a professional opportunity for myself.
right.
Hmm.
That makes total sense, and a great sort of segue to my next question. So you're doing all of these things.
Hmm.
You're a new mother. What is the change that you want to see in the world?
You know, um, I really, I really put a lot of weight on a curious mindset, and I think that I've gained a lot personally and professionally about leaning into curiosity. I think um, I wish people would be more curious. And I think that that might help a lot of the things, all of the things that are going on all around the world. I think being curious can help enable people to find opportunities they didn't know they might have. When you speak about career paths and professional opportunities, but I also think about just treating one another with kindness, or at least not jumping to assumptions. And I think curiosity in and of itself is something that I hope to encourage more people to have. And it's something that when I see it, I take note of it and I try to learn from it as well from other people. So I know that's a bit out there, but I think it captures a lot of things, good things that can happen in, whether you're thinking about the environment, whether you're thinking about government, whether you're thinking about um, capitalism, even. Like, I think being curious can help bring a lot of value no matter what your priorities are.
Right. I think that you said that it's a little out there, but I think that it's spot on. I mean, spot on the money for where the world is at right now. And just thinking about it for a moment, if you're curious or if I'm curious about something, it means that I'm not stuck in my way or my opinion about a certain thing. So it
Mhm.
sort of means I'm open to change. I'm open to
Mhm.
other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that I agree with you that that's a really important thing if we could foster and bring more into the world.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I will say that professionally, I got involved in some leadership stuff early on, and part of it was just about putting my hand up. Perhaps when others weren't. Like at a time, I'm getting there now. I'll be 39 next month, but for many years, I was often the youngest person in the room or at the board table. And I think just being curious about how I might be able to bring value, and not going in with assumptions about how things ought to work, and really being open, as you say. I think that's another key thing, is being open and being curious. I think are two different things, but they matter, and add a lot of value together. And that's really what brought me to this Web3 rabbit hole. And I'm still very excited about, when I look back in 10 years, that this will have been a very interesting and pivotal time. But still, I'm open and curious still, because I don't know where, where it's all going to end up.
All right. No, I love that. And I guess this would just be a short follow on to that. how do you feel like you're working to help bring that into the world?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, the podcast in and of itself, I'm hoping serves that a bit. I'm really hoping to reach an audience of folks who maybe don't see themselves as experts in emerging tech, as an example, and trying to create a narrative that's easily digestible, that doesn't scare people, that doesn't make people feel like imposters for just trying to learn. Because I think that is a challenge, especially, you know, from my perspective. I think it's really important for women and girls to feel like they have access to information that resonates with them and can help them open their minds and their worlds and opportunities. So I'm hoping in a little way that the podcast is serving that. And I also think that leading by example matters. You know, there's been a few times in my life where I've been in a place where I'm like, I don't know how I got here, but I'm super happy and proud that I'm here. And I hope that people see me and think, oh, if Ashley, can achieve this accomplishment or be in this position, maybe I can do that. And I think sometimes just living to your word can help serve in that way too, in less tangible ways.
So if you had to give one practical tip, or is there something that you've seen either for curiosity in general, or you could be more specific on understanding blockchain technology in general? Is there one thing that if I was curious, be like, hey, I don't know where to start, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. I mean, at least from the tech perspective, I think resources are becoming more widely available. You do have to be careful about, what information you look at. And I think that's part of it too, is I think, today you can certainly Google things and search things. Like if there's something that piques your interest, there's ways to go down that rabbit hole and try to unpack it all. I think having a very reasonable sense of caution, but also curiosity and recognizing that, where you're getting information from, there might be bias, there might be assumptions being made. But I think if there's interest, just kind of continuing down the path of learning and trying to piece things together, because it is all a puzzle still. And I think that when you're looking at new realms, like spaces where there's not necessarily a lot of history or, the rules aren't written yet, I do believe that there's so much room to learn and become a thought leader early on. And I do implore people to, if you see that opportunity and it interests you, like take it, because you may very well be able to find yourself in a position that in a year or two, you'd be amazed. So I just think that not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to ask the dumb questions, it really can help empower people.
That's awesome. I actually read a quote by Kevin Kelly the other day that was some advice just saying, ask the question even if you think it sounds silly, because 99% of people are thinking the same question but are too embarrassed to ask it. And
this is where those old rules apply and will continue to apply, and will continue to matter, because I think I've heard that in a variety of contexts through my life, and it won't change. So sometimes we just need to be reminded.
Right. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. You've got a lot going on.
Yes.
What do you do to unwind, or a guilty pleasure of yours?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not really sure, but a guilty pleasure makes it easier. I binge watch The Office over and over and over again. I don't watch TV. I hardly watch movies. And when I say I watch The Office, it doesn't mean I'm committed to watching it as I'm watching it. But I have probably watched that series like 100 times in the background constantly. And I love it, and I will forever love it, and it never gets old.
That is amazing. When or where do you find your greatest sense of belonging?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm still trying to figure that out a little. I've been very fortunate, and I don't know how this happened, but I think since early days, I've always kind of, it's cliche, but marched to the beat of my own drum. And like, I was always very comfortable with that. So depending on what's going on, like I find my place, if that makes sense, and find where I fit. And if I'm alone, I mean, I was surprised through the pandemic to learn that I actually love, I'm more of an introvert than I knew. Because I'm social. I'm a very social person. I always described myself as an extrovert. But I like being alone. And I think that's where I get into my brain and my mind and my ideas, and where I go down these rabbit holes. And, you know, yeah, there are other answers, I suppose. I have a group of friends who I don't see nearly enough that are musicians. And, you know, early on when I first moved to Vancouver, I was in my mid-20s trying to build my real estate career. And here I am in, a blazer and heels and walking out the door and trying to look the part. And then I'd go home to my friends who, were basically couch surfers and just playing guitar and singing songs and, having a good time and have no structure in their lives. And I'm just like, I love this. So, I run the range a little bit, and I try to put myself in that place from time to time. It's harder now, but I like it a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ashley, what are you currently grateful for?
I'm grateful for a lot of things. There's some of the easy things. I'm grateful for my son, who, by the way, I did not plan on having. That might be oversharing to your audience. But, I was 38, found out I was pregnant with my partner. But we had thought maybe we were the type that didn't want to have kids. And I ended up pregnant. And, had a easy pregnancy, obviously had no problem getting pregnant. And a lot of my counterparts that are my age or maybe early 40s who are going through a lot of trying times to, plan their families. It's like, okay, this came easy. Pregnancy was fairly comfortable. My baby's been healthy. And I think that puts there's a lot of perspective in that, like what matters. And I enjoy the moments I have with him clearly, and my family, they're healthy. I do think about that quite a bit. I'm grateful to be Canadian. That seems very silly, but like I think we all forget how good many of us have it where we live, even when we're struggling. You can look around the world and find places where people are having much tougher times. And I hate to say, like, it's such a toxic word now, privilege. Like, I've always felt privileged. I've always known I was privileged. And while I hate that there's people who have harder times in their lives because they lack that privilege, I'm still grateful for it. It allows me to do things I want to do. And I think appreciating that is important. And so, anyways, again, that was a word that became so controversial all of a sudden, and I always thought that was very funny. But grateful for a lot of the things, a lot of the easy day-to-day human things, healthy, happy family. Yeah,
I love that. So there's a lot of things going on in the world, varying. You alluded to them earlier. How and why are you optimistic about the future?
There are moments when I'm scared. There's especially now that I have a little one and I think about his future. I do believe there are many people who are trying really hard to make the world a better place. Clearly the environment and the impact of climate change is significant. And that's something we're seeing this summer everywhere. We're seeing it in our backyard. We're seeing it in places where you wouldn't necessarily expect challenges. And, I think that when we're looking at emerging technologies as an example, I think there's a lot of narrative around the greed and the why. Like, why are people working on these things? Why are they building them? What are they trying to get? But on the flip side, there are so many people who, despite a challenging narrative, get involved anyways. They take the heat on, as an example, cryptocurrency. Like, I'm not a big crypto maxi. I like to put that out there. Like, I think it's an interesting part of where things are going to go, decentralized money, whatever. But Ethereum, as an example, last year in 2022, we saw Ethereum move from proof of work to proof of stake, which, a lot of the controversy around Ethereum transactions was related to its environmental impact, because it took a lot of computing power. It was not good. It was not good for the world. However, there were a lot of people working towards making that better, streamlining it, making it more efficient. And once they were able to make that shift, it decreased the environmental impact by over 99%. And that's crazy. And so I do think that it's important for good people to get involved in hard things, even things that may not be popular or where they will be judged, because it's those good people who are going to positively impact the world. And I know that's just like a single example, but I do try to fill some of my time with good news stories as much as I can. I think you have to do that proactively these days. It's easy to get sucked into the negative and the polarizing news and all of that, and reminding yourself that there's good people. I think it's inspiring. I think it makes us all feel like maybe the little things I do will help, rather than feeling like it's not worth it. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good place to probably leave it for today. For those people listening, where can they find what you're currently working on? Where's the best place for them to go find you?
Yes. Well, speaking of me trying to figure out how to put myself out there in the world, I recently changed all my social media handles to something a little more agnostic, because it used to be more directly related to my real estate profession. So now you can search Ashley Smith Now on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Ashley Smith Now. And so I'm excited about that. That's frankly made my life a lot easier. And of course, please do check out From the Blockchain, the podcast, if you're interested in learning a bit more about business and the intersection of blockchain technology and business. So that is, you can also go to fromtheblockchain.org to learn more, but you can find it on all streaming platforms and YouTube.
I love that. And we will link to most of those in the show notes and on the blog. And Ashley shouldn't be too hard to find out there on the interwebs.
I had to do some. My name is so common, so it actually does make it a little tough. But I think I finally figured it out.
I love it's not Ashley Smith in the past. It's not Ashley Smith in the future. Yes. It's right now.
It's right now. And it's easy to say and easy to spell.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy, busy day. And it's always really, really nice to chat.
It is. I love chatting with you. Thank you so much, Ash.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, Ash here again. Just wanted to say a special thank you and offer you 20% off everything over at drinkquiver.com. So if you're interested in any of our coffee and teas or apparel, use code podcast at checkout for 20% off as a little thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.